The bye week is here for the New Orleans Saints, but that doesn't mean that changes can't be made, and that doesn't mean the content stops. You're watching Saints Now by Chat Sports. My name is Trizzy Trace Gerard, so let's explore some things that Kellen Moore could do to improve the New Orleans Saints and get them to a position where they can go and win some games after Week 12. Obviously, they only have 2 wins right now. They have a very easy stretch at the back half of the season, and I want to see the New Orleans Saints make some changes to help them build for the future. Now, let's first start off by saying what Kellen Moore had to say about the bye week. Here's kind of the strategy. Here's what they're doing. Every year is different. We have the later bye. We don't have a Thursday game this year. So this is our one opportunity for our guys to breathe and recharge themselves. He said that a lot of guys are going to be at home recovering. A lot of guys are going to be doing their own thing. And then there'll also be guys around the facilities getting their treatment, getting their work and everything like that. But Kellen Moore needs to make some changes. He needs to do some things to improve this roster and get them to a position where they're competing at a high level, playing complete football, and getting a good read on what the future could potentially look like in New Orleans. First thing that I think that Kellen Moore should do in the Saints in terms of a bye week change is add more screens to the playbook. This is such a basic one. I mean, hear me out. This is a crazy idea for you. Alvin Kamara, number 41, that running back, has a lot of yards, a lot of receiving yards, one of the best receiving backs in all of football ever, in my opinion. Dude, crazy concept. He's dangerous in open space. You throw him the ball where nobody else is there and you just let him cook. Crazy thought. Do that more. We saw the Saints do that against the Panthers. We saw Alvin Kamara have some really nice run, and he had a really good game. And putting Alvin Kamara in open space is a strength throughout his whole career. And I think putting this screen game into the playbook and having that be more heavily emphasized is a smart decision, considering 4 of your last games that you play are against 3 of the top 10 teams in blitz percentage. So in terms of the top 10, you have 3 opponents that you are playing 4 games. You still have to play the Falcons twice. You play the Dolphins and the Jets. The Falcons blitz the number 2 rate in the National Football League, 41%. The Dolphins, 30.8%. The Jets, 27%. And the screen game is a good way to combat the blitz, combat the pressure, and be able to move the ball downfield, especially against Atlanta. They have done a lot to add to their pass rushing unit. So I think that the Saints need to do their best to find ways to combat it and compete against it and find ways to come out on the other end as the successful side of the football. Now, do you think the Saints need to run more screens? Simply Y for yes, N for no. Let me know what you think. I don't know how you could say no. I think that adding screens to this game is just such a basic idea that the Saints just need to do. Now, another thing that the Saints should do in terms of changes to make during the bye week, find Danny Stutsman a role. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm some football guru and I have all the answers for how we can maximize each and every player, but I do know that Danny Stutsman is a player that has been getting significantly more run, and the production that you're getting in the limited snaps, it's extremely impressive. So with Danny Stutsman, he's been rotating a lot in with Pete Werner, and when you look at them side by side, you can see the snap count way heavily favors Pete Werner. But the production, it isn't necessarily too far off for Danny Stutsman. Obviously, no sacks, no pass breakups, no forced fumbles. Pete Werner does have 2 fumble recoveries, and I do believe Pete Werner is starting to stack some nice games. And obviously, the Saints did not trade him at the deadline. There was chatter about maybe they do make that move to open up opportunities for Stutsman. But I think when it comes to this player specifically, you need to find ways to get him on the field. Brandon Staley needs to get creative. He needs to figure out what that role is, because the usage of Danny Stutsman, although I think it's been underwhelming, when he's on the field, the impact is definitely there. So I want to figure out what Stutsman's role is. Do you line him up next to Demario Davis more often? Do you find ways to have an extra linebacker on the field? Like, I don't know exactly what that means, but you need to get him on the field more often. He is a playmaker. He is productive. And he's somebody whose development I'm really not willing to put a rift into that just because I want to give Pete Werner more snaps because we're paying him more. Like, You got to find ways to get him on the field so he can continue to be a big part of this defense. And I think the future for this defense revolves around this guy. Now, another player that you need to see more from, Devin Neal. Devin Neal, Devin Neal, Devin Neal, Devin Neal, Devin Neal. I will never stop saying it, and I'm going to explain why here in just 1 second. But first things first, got to thank today's presenting sponsor, and that is none other than Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy app in the entire world. I love Prize Picks. I play it every single time I'm watching sports. Lopez, he's been cashing in big time on Prize Picks, and you can too. We got a pretty sweet deal for you. If you download the app, use code CLNS, you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. It's very simple to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks, by the way, is now the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen's passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns? Well, now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. They put their users first, so all withdrawals are fast and secure. They offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this season. The Saints are not playing, but I'm going to keep my eyes on the NFC South. I'm going to pick Ted McMillan to score a touchdown, Drake London to score a touchdown, and my sweet prince, Rashid, the need for speed, Shaheed. I think he finds the end zone. If we get 3 touchdowns, your boy's cashing in a major, major way. Download Prize Picks today. Use code CLNS. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Click the link in the comments or description of this video to get started today. Shout out to Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. I love Prize Picks. You will too. Put your ball knowledge to the test and go cash in with Prize Picks. Alrighty, I want to see more of Devin Neal. That is not something that I am willing to hinder from. Why? Quite literally, as we're filming this video, I just watched Devin Neal's little pass that he got from Tyler Shough against the Panthers, found him in an open space. I mean, it just was such a nice play all around. But I think that Devin Neal is a player that, honestly, I don't know how he dropped as far as he did in the draft. He was a 6th-round pick by the New Orleans Saints. He's a rookie. This guy is suited to be a workhorse. He is really, really strong. He has great short area quickness. He has very underrated receiving ability. And he's somebody that I think should operate much more frequently in this Saints offense. Obviously, Kendre Miller, he went down with the season-ending injury, and it felt like the Saints rushing attack after that completely stalled out. And then you get Taysom Hill back, and it's cool, but you're starting to kind of force-feed Taysom Hill, and I just think that that's not a good idea anymore. And I love Taysom Hill, but he is not the player he once was. Dare I say, he may be washed. You got to stop force-feeding Taysom Hill and need to start force-feeding Devin Neal. That player has a lot less tread, or a lot more tread on the tires. He has a lot less hits that he's taken. Devin Neal is a player that is a rookie that you can learn a lot about. He can add a spark. There's not a ton of tape of him. Why are we not putting him on the field more frequently? And to be totally honest, I think that you can utilize him between the tackles so much more often. And I think when you talk about Alvin Kamara, what did we say a little bit earlier? Get him in open space. Allow Devin Neal to operate within the tackles. Let Devin Neal take the hits and let Alvin Kamara get all the finesse and do his thing and maximize his usage. I think if you maximize Devin Neal, you also add the ability to maximize Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara. So I would like to see more from Devin Neal, and I'd like to see him be a much more prominent part of the Saints offense. Now, the Saints are 30th in yards per rush and 28th in rushing yards per game. Less than 100 yards per game and less than 4 yards per rush. Find ways to be better. It's not rocket science. I know that some of it has to do with the offensive line, but you got to find ways to get the offensive game rolling, especially on the ground. You need to get the ground game going. Now, 2 more changes that I think the Saints should consider making. Let's get more plays under center. Let's let Tyler Shough operate under center. And we got a pretty interesting quote from Kellen Moore. We got some interesting stuff that I want to talk about. But in my personal opinion, when I'm looking at the tape and I'm rewatching everything from the Saints versus Panthers game, and I even go back to Saints versus Rams and Saints versus Bucks when we saw Tyler Shough. In my personal opinion, when he was under center, he seemed very, very comfortable. He seemed like he had more control over the offense. And I think when you have your quarterback under center, it gives them more control. It gives them a better vision. It allows the offense to be a little bit more unpredictable. And so for the Saints moving forward, do that. I'm not saying every play has to be from under center, but I think if you get under center more regularly, it can allow the offense to be just more productive, more just flashy and honestly and explosive, but also just overall it will look better and it'll be a better squad. Kellen Moore was asked about playing under center more regularly, and here's what he had to say on Monday to media. I think your guys are having success under center in the run game. For us, it's continuing to find what best suits us each and every week based off the opponent. Something for us to look at, or it's certainly something for us to look at. There's some positives that have come out of the last few weeks. We are got to continue to build on that. And it's no question the Saints are still looking to find their identity. Obviously, when Kellen Moore was with Dallas and with Los Angeles, they were a high-flying passing offense. When he was with Philadelphia, they were a ground-and-pound, run-first team. They're trying to figure out what the identity is in New Orleans, and that's okay. But under center, it opens up the play action. It's easy to disguise run versus passes plays, and it's much easier in terms of communication, calling out checks, calling out audibles, communicating with the rest of the squad. And I do think whenever you play a little bit heavier in certain situations, you've seen the Saints find success in that regard in terms of the offensive line that they have out there playing under center with that. I think that that's something the Saints definitely should consider. Get under center more frequently to give Tyler Shough more comfort and a better chance to succeed in this offense. And lastly, this is such an obvious one, and that's why I made it the last one. Do I even need to say it? How many times are we going to have this conversation? I want it on record. I made an entire video about this topic. But let's look at the wide receiver room. I'm going to tell you right now. That's it. This is your wide receiver room. You don't have anyone else. You traded away Rashid Shaheed, and this is what you got right now. Chris Olave, Brandon Cooks. Love Olave. Cooks, he's fine as a veteran, I guess. No disrespect to Mason Tipton. But Devaughn Vele is the player in the wide receiver room who needs to step up in the biggest way. And part of that is on Vele. Part of that is on the quarterback. Part of that is on Kellen Moore. Part of that is on the offensive line. Part of that is on the play calling. There's a lot of things to point the finger at in terms of why Devaughn Vele hasn't been more productive. He hasn't gotten a ton of snaps, but we're starting to see that change now that Rashid Shaheed is out of the picture. But you invested a top 100 selection in this player. You traded a 4th and a 7th round pick. The Saints need to make right on that investment. I'm not saying he needs to be a 1,000-yard receiver, but damn it, can we get 400, 500 yards? Can we get more than one catch? Can we get more than 30% of snaps? It's just frustrating. And I will encourage you, check this video out. I did go through a full breakdown on Devaughn Vele, how to get him more involved, where he succeeds better, the deep stats, the snap counts, the analytics, the advanced metrics. We went into a really, really in-depth analysis on Devaughn Vele. What the hell is going on with him? I got the answers. Click the link in the comments or description of this video. That's the thumbnail if you want to go check it out. But all in all, to kind of give you the spark notes of it, line him up in the slot. Don't be afraid to feed him contested catches. And utilize him in the frickin' red zone. The Saints need to make right on their investment. I cannot say it enough. They need to be better. They need to get the most out of Devaughn Vele as they can. Obviously, Rashid Shaheed was a part of the offense. You traded him away. It opened up the opportunity for him. And last week, he played the highest percentage of snaps among all wide receivers. So let's now turn the snaps into catches, in targets, and production. Now, if you guys want to subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. We are on the road to 100,000. We're just over 52K, so a little over halfway there. Today, we're just trying to get to 150, so 45 Saints fans. If you hit the sub button, I promise you won't regret it, and you'll be helping me out in a big way. We're a little under 48,000 subscribers away from 100,000, but everyone helps. Let's chip away to 100K and lock us in for Saints content by fans, for fans, every single day.